Hello everyone, it's Joe here from Draft FPL and welcome back to a weekly series helping you find some good value free agents and waiver pickups in Draft FPL. Okay, we're back. It's game week 7. Apologies for missing you all last week. I went on a little trip with the boys, completely lost my voice, couldn't really use that to record a video, so had to take a week off, but we're back with game week 7. Unfortunately, we're back into another international break after this week, but then we're back in the real swing of it from game week 8 onwards. So without any further ado, let's get stuck into the picks. And first up, we've got Wesley Fofana. He is available in 54% of draft leagues, and that data is courtesy of draftfc.co.uk as always. If you want to try the site out for 1 month completely free, no commitment, use code SNAKEDRAFT at checkout and check that out. At checkout, check it out. I might have to delete that. On to the fixtures then for Fofana. We've got Forest at home this week in game week 7. Really good fixture for Chelsea. I think that Forest like to park the bus in the low block away from home, and I don't think they're going to be too aggressive here against Chelsea. I think this is a decent chance at a clean sheet for the Blues. Beyond that, the fixtures do stiffen up considerably. Liverpool away in game week 8 is really bad. Newcastle at home in 9 and United away at 10 are both not terrible fixtures, but from a defensive point of view, I'm not sure if I see a clean sheet there. Fofana has got back-to-back 0-pointers, which for owners is quite frustrating, but it has put people off picking him up a little bit. One of those was really annoying. It's a clean sheet win. He came off in 57 minutes after getting a booking. 0 points when it could have easily been 6 or more. And then, last week against Brighton, they conceded a few goals. He does have a habit of getting yellow cards, Fofana, which is frustrating. But I do think he's pretty much nailed on, and I just don't see him coming out the side at the moment. So I think for this game week, he's definitely one of the best potential chances at a clean sheet off the waivers. Next up, we've got Todibo, available in 97% of leagues. West Ham have been quite a mixed bag really so far this season. They've performed well in sort of fits and starts, but not really put together a decent run. And the fixtures kind of have facilitated that. They've never really had a good run. They've not really had any great... They've had loads of mediocre fixtures, and a couple of stinkers. Well, game week 7 here, Ipswich at home. It's probably their first properly good fixture of the season, or one of the first anyway. And I do fancy them to have a decent chance at a clean sheet this week. I think Todibo does improve the side, new signing this season, and he's pretty much settled in now, so I think he's a good pick. Available in almost all leagues, and I think for this week he's a good pick. I probably wouldn't keep him much beyond that because, as I said earlier, the fixtures just aren't great. Tottenham away and United at home in 8 and 9. Then Forest away in 10 is not amazing either. It's not terrible. And, if I had him, I probably would still play him in that. But away from home, I'm not convinced. So it's probably in the 1 week punt territory, but it is definitely a strong 1 week punt. And next up, we've got Ethan Pinnock, available in 89% of leagues. He's probably my most picked waiver pick ever. Since Brentford have got promoted, I've picked him kind of over and over again because he always starts when he's fit and doesn't offer too much threat, but it's decent on bonus, and it's just a consistent chance at a clean sheet when the fixtures are good. And the fixtures are good. Wolves at home this week, then it's United away, which you'd probably want to bench for if you can, then Ipswich at home, Fulham away in 9 and 10, both decent chances. Brentford have been pretty good, if not spectacular this season. They have conceded a lot of chances, but so far they have had tough fixtures. They've played a lot of the big boys away from home, so that is to be expected. And I also expect that the defensive numbers will improve over this really strong run of fixtures that they've got. Going back to Chelsea, Jadon Sancho still available in 34% of draft leagues. If he is currently available in your league, I would predict that this is probably the last chance you'll have of picking him up off the waivers. Even though the fixtures do get pretty tough from game week 8 onwards, this is definitely the week to grab him. Forest at home, and as I said in the Fofana, I think this is a good fixture for Chelsea. Forest are likely to use the deep block, which brings the likes of Sancho and Madueke. It gives what am I trying to say? It gives them more of a chance to come into the box and raid the box when the ball's coming from the other side, and they are going to look to go side to side a lot to try and break that down. It won't be another game similar to Brighton where they had that suicidally high line. Forest aren't going to do that, so I don't think it's going to be a massive scoreline, but I do think that Chelsea will get a couple of goals in this game. And Sancho, I think, is pretty much guaranteed to start on the wing now. It looks like him and Madueke have got those spots nailed down. Definitely first choice for the time being, and they're playing pretty well, so I don't expect that to change anytime soon. So I definitely think he's one to keep and hold for a while. Next up, we've got Leon Bailey available in 38% of leagues. Jacob Ramsey pulled his groin in the Champions League last night against Bayern, came off after about 25 minutes, which doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be out. We haven't actually heard from Unai Emery in the press conferences yet. Groin injuries are actually generally not bad. Like they heal pretty quick, and even though you can get subbed off, he could actually still make the weekend. It wouldn't be that surprising, but I do think they'll probably try and be careful with him, and I would suspect that Bailey will probably start at home to United this week, which I think is a pretty good fixture for Villa, and I fancy Villa to get a couple of goals in this one. And Leon Bailey, as we know, has got a good history of getting on the score sheet, so I think he's a really strong pick if he starts. Even if he doesn't start, they're definitely going to manage Ramsey's minutes, so you're looking at an absolute minimum of like half an hour, but I suspect probably more like 60-70 minutes. Next up, we go back to Brentford. I mentioned this really good run of fixtures earlier, and I'm going to go back in for it now. I did talk about both Sharda and Carvalho on last week's cheat sheet if you check that out, and I'm going to mention them probably game week 7, game week 9, game week 10, because I think they're both really good picks. When they have easier fixtures, they do like to play a 4-3-3, and both Sharda and Carvalho are almost certainly going to start in that formation. Available in 88% of leagues. They've got a good chance of getting a few goals this week at home to Wolves, as well as I said in game week 9 and 10. The fixture run actually goes on for even longer than that. They've got really good fixtures for quite a while now, Brentford. So I think you can't go wrong with either Sharda or Carvalho, who is also available in 91% of leagues. I just think it's a bit of a no-brainer swap, really. If you've got a midfielder that doesn't have a good fixture this week and you're keen to drop them, these are two that pretty much everyone could go for. Final midfielder this week is Souček, available in 82% of leagues. The West Ham attack has been kind of terrible, and I don't really like any of the picks apart from Bowen, just because he's a little bit more consistent and you kind of know what you're going to get from him. Whereas, the rest of them have all been inconsistent, not, Kudus got hooked at half time, I think, in the last game. That's not what you want to see. But Souček has been pretty good for minutes, and we know what he can do from set pieces and even creeping into the box in open play, and you would expect West Ham to get a decent amount of set pieces against Ipswich. They're going to get more corners than they have in previous week, free kicks, stuff like that, which is where Souček really does excel. He is absolutely lethal in the air, and I think if you're going to plump for a time when he gets on the end of one of these set pieces, you look at fixtures like Ipswich at home and think, I can see that happening this week. So I think he's actually a pretty good punt for this week. If you're looking for a fifth midfielder to just take a chance on, I would go for him. Finally, on to forwards, and I've just got one for you this week, and it's someone that if you were to pick up, you'd almost certainly want to bench. It's Ross Stewart of Southampton. Saints have been pretty terrible so far, and I definitely wouldn't really be backing them, but if you've got the likes of Adam Armstrong, I would just move him straight on to Stewart, because I think he's much more likely to get minutes for the Saints. And worst case scenario, if you need to go deep on your bench, you want someone that's at least going to be playing. The fixtures are kind of weird because they've probably got the two most difficult fixtures in the league in game week 7 and game week 9, Arsenal away, City away. But game week 8 and 10, they've got two of the best fixtures in the league, which are Leicester at home and Everton at home. So if you've got, quite a deep squad and you can bench him in 7 and 9, I actually think he's not a bad pick for 8 and 10, because you'd think that Saints absolutely must win at least one of those two games, probably both if they've got any chance of keeping up with the rest of the league. So I do see a chance that they could score goals in both of those two games, and if you can bench for 7 and 9, I think Stewart's actually not a bad shout. He came on at half time against Bournemouth and I think he'll keep his place. I think if it wasn't for the kind of bad injury that he got after they signed him, he probably would have played more minutes up until now. But he's back, he's fully fit, and I think he offers something a bit more useful up front than the likes of Archer and Armstrong. So I personally think he's pretty likely to keep his place going forward. Okay, that wraps up my picks for game week 7. My voice is struggling. I'm just about going to get through it. Thank you all for watching. Check out the link in the description, Draft FC, Patreon, Fantasy Football Hub, that sort of stuff. And I'll see you in a couple of weeks for game week 8 after the international break. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.